Welcome to the Every Mom is an Athlete podcast, where we believe that motherhood is inherently athletic. I see you lifting car seats, chasing toddlers, and carrying groceries one-handed while holding a baby and a coffee. Your daily life is a workout. I'm Dr. Karlie, pregnancy and postpartum expert, sports chiropractor, strength coach, entrepreneur, and mom of three. Here you'll find solo episodes and real conversations with other moms and leading experts, so you can live your strongest, healthiest, most aligned life in motherhood. No matter how long it's been since you've had your baby, whether you're reconnecting with your body, rebuilding your strength, or just figuring out what feels good again, you're in the right place. Hello, and welcome back to Every Mom is an Athlete. Today, we are talking about butts. We're talking about bums. We need to talk about this phenomenon that I lovingly, not so lovingly, call flat mom butt. And you've probably heard of this before. I remember before I had kids, way before I had kids, I remember hearing moms talk about this, saying like, the baby ate my butt. Where did my butt go? It's so flat now. And I remember thinking that that was so funny. And then fast forward, obviously today I've had 3 kids, so I've gone through this multiple times, but I mainly only help in my practice as a chiropractor, pregnant and postpartum women. So I end up working a lot with women on strengthening their glutes, getting their booty back, and not just for looks, right? But because our glutes are one of the biggest muscles in our bodies. They stabilize our pelvis. They're directly attached into our pelvic floor, actually. So if you're having pelvic floor issues, we always want to look at the glutes and see what's going on there. And so it's just really important for a lot of reasons that as moms, we build back our butts. So let's talk about it. Why does this happen? Let's start there. So during pregnancy, our anatomy changes, right? The way that our spine is, that our belly is pulling us forward. Actually, our pelvis kind of gets tucked under. And what happens here is that your glutes are actually lengthened out a little bit and they get weakened. So anatomically and functionally, we're just sort of set up in like a losing situation there during pregnancy. And so we really do have to focus on doing some glute work during pregnancy. And I think this is also one of the reasons that this happens is that a lot of women don't do glute work. Maybe they're doing more gentle exercises. Maybe they're just walking. Whatever the case is, I think a lot of women skip the glute work. And when I say glute work, I mean things like, let's talk about like glute bridges, squats, deadlifts, sort of like that mini band where you're doing lateral steps, donkey kicks. Those are all things that are going to work on your glutes, among other things, right? There's a million different ways to strengthen your glutes, but those are just a few things that I usually give women. So those two things together, just the anatomical changes, plus maybe doing a little less activity, I think that accounts for a lot of it. We also have to think about how that transitions into postpartum recovery, okay? So a lot of women have fat redistribution throughout pregnancy and then into breastfeeding, right? We use that fat in our body to produce milk for our baby. So that can also contribute to changes in what the glutes look like and that flat butt situation that we're talking about. We also end up sitting a lot with a brand new baby. So you can imagine that you're sitting on your glutes, you're sitting on your bum. Again, the muscles are lengthened, they're not activated. Our hip flexors, so on the opposite side, if those get tight, that's going to inhibit the glutes. So think about it like this. This is a little bit easier way of thinking about it. If I do a bicep curl and my bicep is all engaged, I have a big old bicep, my tricep on the backside is going to be lengthened and it cannot be activated. It cannot be contracting while my bicep is contracting. They're opposites. Same with the hip flexors and the glutes. If you're sitting a lot, your hip flexors are going to be more contracted and tight. And so your glutes are going to be more lengthened and weakened. And so that sort of like is a snowball effect, right? The tighter your hip flexors are, the weaker your glutes are. And again, we're just generally speaking, but these are all little things that contribute to changes in our glutes during pregnancy and postpartum. And again, I want to make it clear, I'm not talking about like getting your booty back just to like look good. Again, we're talking about stability of the pelvis, pain relief often, especially for people who have low back pain. Often we look at their glutes, and if those muscles are not activating the way that they're supposed to, then the low back or the hamstrings are going to kind of take over, and the glute is supposed to do most of the hip extension. So that's where people end up with like hamstring strains or low back pain, that sort of thing. So we're talking about function here, okay? I know we all want a nice big booty. I myself also am trying to currently get my booty back, but we want to be able to be strong enough to carry our kids, do all the stuff we want to do, and live without pain and like dysfunction. So let's talk a little bit more about why glute strength actually matters. So I mentioned before that it supports your pelvic floor, that your glutes are directly attached into your pelvic floor. So what I have patients do in my office, if they're having pelvic floor issues, one of the things we start with is glute bridges. And also, if they're out doing a lot of walking, we really focus on hill walking because that's going to automatically really make you use your glutes a lot more. And I also find that just thinking about using your glutes, so thinking, let's say, as you're walking up a hill, really thinking about driving up the hill, using your butt will help you engage those muscles better. Just that mind-body connection, that goes a long way too. So I think a lot of people end up walking up hills sort of pulling themselves with their hip flexors. And if we can change that focus to think about driving ourselves up the hill with our glutes, that in itself can make a big difference. So give that a try. The second thing, and again, I already mentioned this a little bit, but is that having strong glutes will help decrease low back pain. Again, our low back, our glutes, our hamstring, they all make up that posterior chain. What I have patients in my office do is I'll have them lay on their tummy on my table, and then I have them keep their legs straight and lift up one leg at a time. And what I'm looking for there is I'm looking to see how their glutes are extending their leg because they should be that main hip extensor. So if I see that their hamstring is doing most of the work, then I know potentially they might have a hamstring strain down the road because their glute is not doing what it's supposed to do. If I see that their low back is doing most of the work or firing first, I can see at some point those low back muscles, which are much smaller than the glutes, are going to give up, and that's going to cause some kind of low back spasm or strain or whatever. So it's super important that the glute is doing most of that hip extension. And we also have to look up and down the chain, right? So having strong glutes can also help prevent hip and knee pain. Again, because the right muscles are firing and supporting our ligaments, our tendons, our joints, all through that lower extremity. Having strong glutes is also going to help us improve our posture and our balance. And remember, during pregnancy, our balance gets totally thrown off, again, for a variety of reasons, right? Our center of gravity has changed with our big belly. There's so much weight on our pelvis, and we're often not doing as much single leg work maybe as we were pre-pregnancy. And that can be for a variety of reasons. It could just be that we're not doing as much exercise in general. Sometimes it is that it hurts because it's a lot of weight bearing on one side of your pelvis. So there's a lot of reasons for that. But strengthening your glutes in postpartum can help improve that balance and just make it easier for you to stand on one foot, which don't even get me started if you want to get back into running, but running is a single leg sport. So we really need to have our balance and our glutes firing for that. Which leads me into my last point here is that having strong glutes is going to help you return to running, jumping, lifting weights, really anything you want to do. I really think about the glutes as part of your core, right? So we think of our core as like our diaphragm and then our pelvic floor and then the muscles that connect all around sort of in that barrel. But the glutes, like I said, are directly connected to your pelvic floor. So I consider the glutes part of your core and a really, really important part, integral part of postpartum rehab. So now let's talk about what we can actually do. I want to share just like 5 simple strategies here that really, no matter where you're at through your pregnancy or postpartum or like years later, if you feel like or you've been told that your glutes are not active, some things that you can start with. So again, my first favorite one is glute bridges. And the reason is it's easy to start with. There's really no excuse, okay? You can lay down on the floor, hold a glute bridge for 30 seconds and move on along with your day, right? A few things about glute bridges. So you're going to lay on your back. You want to make sure that your feet are at least hip width apart. I usually like having my patients use a little band right around the knees, right above the knees, because what that's going to do, it's going to try to pull your legs in, and that's going to activate your lateral glute muscles, your glute medius, which really stabilizes your hips. So that's a great thing to kind of tie on to your glute bridges. Again, there's multiple ways to do it. You can do holds, you can do reps. Sometimes I'll have my patients do a hold, so say like a 30-second hold, and then 10 reps right after that. where they're touching their bum back down to the floor and then driving it back up. Lots of different variations on that. As you get stronger, of course, you can do like a single leg, you can do a knee to chest. There's lots of different options, but those are going to be a good way to really focus on the glutes. If you feel like you can't fire your glutes at all, like you're like, oh my gosh, Karlie, I feel like my butt is jelly. When I try to extend my leg back, I don't feel anything. Then what I'd have you start with is go on your tummy on the floor, bend your knee because that's going to take your hamstring out of it. And then do just some little pulses of kicking that foot up towards the ceiling because that's really going to activate and wake up your glutes. So sometimes I even have people start with that before doing anything else. What else can we do? Single leg work is going to be really important here. So I always have patients start with single leg balance, and then we can progress into like a single leg hip hinge, into a single leg deadlift with a little bit of weight. Those are great ways to work your glutes, work on your balance, and then also start strengthening eventually too. Some of my other favorite things are, as I mentioned before, some mini band work. So you can do lateral steps side to side. You can do banded squats, which again is great because it's trying to pull your knees in. You have to push them out, which again is going to activate that lateral side of your glutes. I'm also a huge deadlift fan. I think we should all really be doing some form of hip hinge or deadlift. It's just like a very natural human movement. The key with that is that you're keeping your back super flat. The cue I use in my office is if people are really new to deadlifting, haven't done it before, is think about pushing your butt back like you're going to put a perfect butt print on the wall behind you. Like if you had paint on your butt, you're going to put a perfect butt print on the wall behind you. And that way you're just like sticking your butt straight back, chest is going to the floor, and then you stand right back up. And that way you're really starting to activate those glutes and hamstrings. Other things you can do is check your posture, okay? Especially in early postpartum, we end up really clenching our glutes under us. And one reason we do this is we're trying to create stability. We're trying to create this stability that we don't have naturally. And so we're like, our body is trying to find a way to do it. What you want to do instead is relax your glutes and then engage your core. And that will help you put your glutes into a good position. And that way your glutes are doing what they're supposed to do. They're not like holding on for dear life. So I find that as soon as women realize they're doing this, it's nice because you realize, oh my gosh, I caught myself. I'm doing it again. I'm clenching my butt under me. But I think that's great because the more you catch yourself doing it, that means the more aware of it you are and the more you can change it. Don't beat yourself up if you're like, oh my gosh, I find myself doing this all the time. That's like really normal, especially in early postpartum. But you just start slowly making those changes, engaging your core. And when I say engage your core, I mean like if I was going to punch you in the stomach, like that is the sort of bracing you should be doing. And then that will allow your glutes to just be where they're supposed to be without like clenching up under you so much. The other thing that I like to recommend my patients do is to just sort of start integrating this stuff into your day. So do some squats while you're holding your baby, while you're watching TV at night. If you get to watch a little TV before bed, do some glute bridges then. Do your single leg stands and work on your balance and engaging your glutes while you're brushing your teeth. There's all kinds of ways that you can build this into your day. It doesn't have to be a big like booty building session that takes you 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be that. You can work this into your day and really make some important changes. I always tell my patients in my office, we get in this mindset of like, I got to do this in the gym, but really we're only in the gym, what? An hour a day, maybe, right? Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But you can really make good improvements by doing little things throughout your day and just building it in and making it more sort of like natural than like, I got to go into the gym and do this. I hope that makes sense. All right, I think I have exhausted talking about booties for today. But if you're ready for more than just one-off tips and you're ready for a full plan to rebuild your body, including your glutes, then I do want to recommend you check out the postpartum plan. It's simple, it's expert-backed, designed by me. It's only 20 minutes a day. And I really designed it with your whole body in mind. So pelvic floor, glutes, upper body, mobility. I know like my back is so sore in those early postpartum days just from sitting so much. And nursing, all that is tied into it. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, if you feel like you're going to be able to build your booty back, I would love if you just leave a review, share with a mom friend, or just tag me on Instagram so that I can say hi. Thanks for listening. Every Mom is an Athlete isn't just a podcast. It's a reminder. Motherhood is athletic, and you're still the athlete you've always been. But it's not about going back. It's about moving forward intentionally and powerfully. If this episode resonated with you, I'd so appreciate it if you'd share it with a friend, leave a quick review, or rate the show. It helps more moms to hear what they need to believe, that every mom is an athlete. See you next time.